The VW Scirocco rally crew is photographed after a successful race, Germany, 1977. The first attempt by the first woman to officially participate in the Boston Marathon, 1967. Neil Armstrong's tearful eyes after walking on the moon, 1969. Outside the U.S. Embassy in Moscow after a demonstration against the U.S. military invasion of Lebanon, 1958. At the beginning of 1947, the USSR imposed a ban on marriages between foreigners and Soviet citizens in an effort to combat espionage. Eunuch from the Imperial Court, Beijing, 1949. Historic handshake between Thomas Stafford and Alexei Leonov, 1975. The British colony of Zanzibar on the east coast of Africa. A tired nanny poses next to her ward named Farouk Bulsara, 1947. A quarter of a century later, the boy would adopt the pseudonym Freddie Mercury. Harold Gillies is rightly called the father of modern plastic surgery. Thanks to his method of skin grafting, soldiers disfigured during World War I were given a chance at a new life. Bronze memorial to 82 children killed in the village of Lidice, former Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic. 42 girls and 40 boys died in a gas chamber in Chelmno, the first German death camp designed specifically for mass killings. Feminists holding a poster that reads "Eve was framed, USA 1970," a clever reference to the biblical story of the fall, suggesting Eve was unfairly blamed for humanity's sins. This rare 1917 photo shows one of the most unusual prototypes of individual protection during World War I. This invention belongs to Dr. Guy Brewster, an enthusiast in defense technology who dreamed of creating a light and effective armor for infantrymen, but his dream never came true. Marilyn Monroe detained for driving without a license, 1954. This pensioner dreamed of jumping off Niagara Falls in a barrel her entire youth, and in 1901, at the age of 63, she fulfilled her dream. A doctor examines a Buchenwald prisoner, 1945. Epidemic of encephalitis lethargica, also known as sleeping sickness. One of the strangest diseases in the history of medicine. People infected with it constantly wanted to sleep and often didn't wake up. The mysterious epidemic, observed in the 1920s, spread to many countries. In 1947, boxer Sugar Ray Robinson did not want to enter the ring with Jimmy Doyle because he had a dream in which he killed his opponent. Robinson was persuaded to participate in the fight. The 8th round ended with Doyle falling after a punch from Robinson and being unable to continue the fight. He later died in the hospital. Anti-Reagan poster widely circulated in 1984. A woman with a portrait of her son greets the last train with former German prisoners of war from the USSR, 1955. Japanese burying Chinese POWs alive, Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937. Native Americans standing on the roof of a building in New York in 1913. Ancient culture and the industrial age stand side by side, meeting face to face. Korean soldier Yang Kyung-jong, who fought for 3 armies during WI, Japan, the Soviet Union, and Germany. Germans with local Russian women in occupied territory, 1943. The last day of gold distribution by the government, China, 1949. The first known use of biological weapons, the Siege of Kaffa in the 14th century. The attacking Tatars catapulted plague-infected corpses into the city, causing an epidemic. It is believed this contributed to the spread of the Black Death in Europe. Soviet militia disperses a rally near the U.S. Embassy in the USSR with the crowd chanting "Freedom for Lebanon," 1958. Iron lungs in polio hospital wards, 1950s. Demonstration of the Devil's Wind execution method. This type of execution involved tying the condemned to the muzzle of a cannon and firing a cannonball through their body. The Great Stingray, caught by Captain Can, USA, 1933. Chinese diplomats criticize London police for carrying batons, London, 1967. A grim spectacle at a London fair. Black people are used as targets, England, 1975. World War I shell casings fired at German positions. London Military Hospital, World War I participants, 1918. Post-mortem photography, late 19th century. The mother and father are blurred. Their daughter is not. She's dead, but they wanted to capture her as a memory. To escape violence, a man fled Burma for Bangladesh, carrying his paralyzed parents 160 kilometers, 100 miles, over 7 days. A doctor assists excited fans of the Beatles during their concert, USA, 1964. The early 1920s saw the peak of sexual liberation and freedom. Numerous unions and organizations began to emerge, promoting a new cultural value, the cult of the nude body. An image symbolizing racial segregation faced by Africans. Maria Mandel, after her arrest by U.S. troops, 1945, she was a top-ranking official at Auschwitz-Birkenau responsible for the deaths of over 500,000 female prisoners. 1942. This is how Disney's Bambi was animated, by hand, frame by frame. This is not a fall, but a descent down the scariest slope in America. Corbett's Couloir, Doug Coombs, 1990. An Iraqi family fleeing the war, Iraq, 2003. In 1923, an American inventor named Murphy struggled to sell the police the bulletproof vest he had designed. Officers were skeptical that a mere contraption could stop a bullet and refused to purchase his product. The stubborn Murphy finally put the vest on himself and stood facing the sheriff. Black children at the fence of a whites-only playground, Alabama, 1956. The audience at a session of hypnotist Anatoly Kashpirovsky for obesity treatment, Russia, 1989. Hiroshima before and after the explosion. The first underwater nuclear test, USA, Bikini Atoll, 1946. The explosion ejected 2 million tons of water, creating a radioactive tsunami. 75% of the animals perished, and the atoll remained uninhabitable until 2010. A young bride heading to her wedding, China, 1912. a captured German soldier in front of the burning Reichstag. Harvey Ball, the man who invented the smiley face. Group photo of Japanese kamikaze pilots before an attack on the central base of the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, 1944. A psychiatric hospital patient made a straw man in her bed, 1910. The dogs that survived the Titanic sinking. There were 12 dogs on board, but only 3 survived. The largest submarine in the world, called Akula, USSR, 1981. A woman carries a sewing machine on her head using the local method of carrying. Women from these regions usually carry water jugs on their heads. Kuwait, 1955. Chicago explodes in rage the day after Martin Luther King Jr.'s death as people take to the streets. USA, 1968. When the British jailed Gandhi in 1932, the nationalist leader continued to spin his own thread. Mahatma Gandhi called upon Indians to create their own textiles rather than purchasing British goods. A homing pigeon being released from a tank during battle, World War I, August 9, 1918. 5-year-old Lena Medina, the youngest mother in the world, holding her baby shortly after birth, Peru, 1939. The first woman to attempt to vote. When trying to enter a polling station, she was pushed out and thrown to the ground. United Kingdom, 1872. One of the lumberjacks cuts down the top of a tree while his colleagues watch from below. British Columbia, 1920. Testing bulletproof glass, New York, 1931. Ku Klux Klan members relax on a Ferris wheel in Cannon City, Colorado, 1922. Madame Gustica, an Ethiopian woman with traditional lip stretching, became a sideshow act in New York. She was often shown smoking a pipe. In October 2012, Peruvian military caught a giant flying fox that was terrifying the local population. Its wingspan reached 2 meters. Matador Alvaro Munero, in the middle of a fight, suddenly sat down at the edge of the arena in remorse. Later, Alvaro confessed, "Suddenly, I saw not horns, but the eyes of the bull. He just stood there, looking, not trying to attack. In his eyes, full of innocence, I saw a plea for help. Reading this, I felt like the worst creature on earth and stopped the fight." Egyptians watching the airship Graf Zeppelin flying over the pyramids of Giza, 1931. A basketball match played on unicycles, United States, 1960s. Walking the Mummies, Italy, 1950. Lion bite marks were found on the skeleton of a Roman gladiator. This proves that in ancient Rome, people actually fought lions in arenas. A 19th century gun for hunting waterfowl, capable of killing around 50 birds with one shot. In 1996, at New Delhi Airport, a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 and a Kazakh Il-76 collided. Both flights were on the same route but in opposite directions, and the pilots failed to communicate their intentions in time because they could not speak English. The crash killed 349 passengers and crew. One of the oldest pieces of evidence of tattoos in history, a Scythian deer tattoo on the mummy of the Altai princess, aged 2,500 years. In 1986, pilot Alexander Kluyev bet he could land a passenger plane blind using only instruments. He lost the bet. The plane crashed and burst into flames, killing 70 people. The pilot survived and was sentenced to just 6 years in prison. A strange device that horrified animal lovers, 1940. Children in trenches during the bombing of England around 1941. People pose on the carcass of a dead whale painted with graffiti, California, 1919. A man fuels up his motorized roller skates, 1961. Adolf Hitler accepts birthday congratulations from youngsters of the Hitler Youth, April 20th, 1945, Germany. 10 days later, Hitler would be gone after realizing the war was lost. May 7, 1954, the USA definitively rejected the USSR's entry into NATO. This decision clearly indicated the USA's hostile stance toward the Soviet Union. This girl found this photograph in an old family photo album 66 years after the start of World War II and learned that her kind grandfather was a Nazi soldier involved in mass killings. Beauty pageant winners, Washington, 1922. This is not sodomy, but a patient at an orthopedic appointment. Stunned by the beauty he saw, the orthopedist grabbed a piece of metal with his right hand while doing something unclear with the other. Sale of dinosaur footprints extracted from limestone in the Paluxy Riverbed, Texas, 1954. In 1930, a terrifying discovery was made. It was a device with a skull inside, which mimicked the contours of a human body. This was how bandits, pirates, and murderers were executed. They were hung for display until they died. Protest against the law prohibiting marijuana possession, Vancouver, Canada, 1971. Eventually, Canadians succeeded, and nearly 50 years later, the country legalized marijuana, becoming the second country after Uruguay to do so. A warehouse filled with shoes from the victims of Auschwitz concentration camp, Poland, 1944. Lady Driver, 1902. In New Jersey, male toplessness was banned until 1937 on the grounds that locals didn't want to see gorillas on the beaches. Bemomanchi. How erotic comics were viewed in the USA, 1942. Survivors of the Andes plane crash, 1972. They lasted 72 days by eating the bodies of the dead. The legendary robber Billy the Kid, a symbol of the Wild West. The only known photograph was sold at auction for $2.3 million. This photo shows the most sought-after prostitute of the 18th century. Blanche Dumas had 3 legs, 4 breasts, and, most shockingly, she had 2 sexual organs. In this touching photo from 1945, a little girl from France kisses an American soldier on the cheek on Valentine's Day. In my opinion, the photograph with the American soldier is quite ambiguous, if we recall that more than half of the civilian casualties in France during World War II were the result of American and British bombings. In the 19th century, ketchup was sold as an effective remedy for rheumatism, diarrhea, and eczema. This made some sense, as lycopene in tomatoes is beneficial, though not a cure-all, and it helped some due to its properties. the last photo of the passengers of the Uruguayan Air Force plane that crashed in the Andes on October 13, 1972. Of the 45 people, 27 survived. They had to feed on the bodies of the deceased. After 72 days, rescuers found 16 survivors. A massive ocean sunfish weighing 3,500 pounds, 1,587 kilos, caught by fishermen off Santa Catalina Island, California, April 1910. Beer and cigarette. During a break at the Super Bowl Final, USA, 1967. An orphaned boy adopted by an air regiment writes, "For mom, for dad, on bombs." The eruption of Klyuchevskaya Sopka taken from space, Russia, 1994. If this video brought a smile or maybe even some anger, share your opinion in the comments. Stay locked in for the upcoming part. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe for more. Goodbye.